about today is how to get what I call unstoppable international growth in the digital age. And I'm really super happy to be with you all today to share some findings of my book, which is called Grow Fast, Grow Global. We've all seen over the past year or so how the coronavirus pandemic has caused a massive jump to digital. And normally this change we would have seen in, say, like 5 years, but it's all happened within, you know, a few months. And this is happening like right across the world in all the different countries that we're working in. And all the predictions are that this trend is actually here to stay. So why did I write this book? Well, I'm based in the UK, and it's one of the most advanced e-commerce countries in the world. And I've been working a lot with the Department for International Trade, helping companies to export. And we looked at it, and a few years ago, we sort of said, right, actually, you know, a lot of people could actually use websites and social media to actually connect with customers all around the world. I've been doing this now for over 15 years, and we've had one-to-ones with about 1,000 small and medium-sized companies. That's my specialism. And I've also had about 10,000 delegates at webinars, seminars, and workshops. So we've spoken to a lot of companies. And then I started to notice that some had like literally gone on to sell, say, millions of dollars of business online. And some people had done absolutely nothing at all. Yet they've been given the same information. So I was seeing firsthand basically what had worked and what didn't, and where the major stumbling blocks were. So I thought, right, let's take this experience that we've learned and try and share it with as many entrepreneurs across as many countries in the world as we possibly can. And now we all see, I think after the last year, that, you know, digital can really help like build economies within countries, transform your business completely, whatever its size, and then change your like individual life and allow your you know, family to flourish. And my motto is that everyone deserves a digital livelihood. So let's before we get started, could we launch the first poll, please? Thank you so much. So if you could just take a few minutes to read this and to answer, it would be really great so that we can see what stage you're at. So how much does your business sell online at the moment? Is it like under 10% of your total revenue? Is it between 10 to 50% of your total revenue? Or is it over 50%? If you could just vote for one of those, that would be great. Give you a few minutes. When you think everybody's voted, let me know. How are we doing? Has everybody voted? Shall we show the results?
Still voting. No, they are still
voting. Perfect.
55. Yes.
Wonderful. I'm really interested to see where we are so far.
Okay, I think most of us have voted. Ending the poll now. Thank you.
Okay. And so here are the results there. So most people have under 10%. So that's, I'm just going to write these down, 59%, less than 10%. Then the middle category there, from 10 to 50% of revenue, 22%, and greater than 50% is 19% of you. Okay, so most of you are just probably starting out. We're going to have a bit more on that later, but it's great to see that, yeah, perhaps nearly half of you are selling quite a lot within your businesses already. So thank you very much for launching the poll for me. Right, so let's carry on then, and let's have a little bit of a think about what the opportunity is for us online and what we can actually do about that. So I say, you know, digital is king. As we said, we all know there's been like a massive digital shake-up, and we need to take advantage of this digital opportunity, not only to survive in our businesses, but also to thrive in the digital age and stay one step ahead. Many of the global names that we know, that are like the really big companies, especially in retail, haven't even managed to do this and have fallen behind, and some have even gone out of business. So let's have a look at what companies could be missing out on by not embracing both digital and the international. So it's no coincidence really that I wrote my book at this point in history, as the number of internet users is continuing to grow really, really fast. And the opportunity that we're seeing for our own individual businesses comes from a number of disruptions that companies are waking up to sort of all around the world. So let's go through some of those and see why the digital world is changing. So we all know that the world population is growing fast, and there's now about 7.8 billion people in there. And more so, what we're looking at here is that now well over half of the world is now online. So that's about 4.5 billion people. And the population, the size of the USA, is coming online every single year. So it's set to grow, you know, fast as we go through the whole of the 2020s. Now, we all know that more and more purchases are now being made online, and it's actually stated in reports that now half of the population of the world is now what is classed as middle class. So they're actually able to afford more products and services from like small and large companies alike. So that means your market is a lot bigger. The other trend that we're seeing, and the change that we're seeing, is that more and more customers actually want to use their own languages online. And you know, when you look in a second, I'm going to show you a graph, but like Mandarin Chinese is actually catching up English as some of the most widely spoken languages online in the world. Now, more and more people are spending time on mobile. We all know that. We're all doing that. In fact, I'm sort of on it more or less so many hours a day that it's not worth telling you how about it. The other trend that we're seeing online is the big shift from west to east. So actually, nearly 2.5 billion of those 4.5 billion internet users are actually in Asia. And there's only 1 billion in like Europe and North America. And it's interesting to know this because people think still that, you know, within Europe and North America, that is where the main markets of the future are going to be. But I don't think that that's actually exactly the case. We also need to remember that there are millions of business in the world. If you are trading with other businesses and a business to business, because this is often forgotten in the world of e-commerce, and also to think about if you're offering services and offering those digitally online. So this is a trend that we think, in fact, B2B e-commerce is at least 6 times bigger than selling directly to consumers, which is what gets all the airtime. And finally, the next disruption that is happening is that there's new technology platforms that are springing up literally every week. You know, we're following everything that's happening in the online and e-commerce space. And it's making it much easier, which is the important point, to sell online and to sell online across borders. And, you know, a lot of these things would have been almost impossible to have done, you know, 15, 20 years ago. So let's have a little look now at the customers that are your potential customers for the future. So as I said, we know there's about 7.8 billion people in the world, and 4.5 billion of them are online. So that's about 56% of the world's population. Now, if you have a look at this, you can see that actually, you know, over 2 billion of them are actually in Asia. And the digital world is, as I said, showing here that it's moved literally from west to east already. So here we go, the countries with the biggest number of internet users here are China and India. We know the populations of India is about 1.3 billion and China's 1.4 billion, but they reckon by 2027, India is actually going to overtake China in terms of population. But what we also need to know in these two countries, although they're sort of like online giants, that only 60% of people are online roughly in China, and in India it's only about 40%. So even though they're the biggest already, still not everybody is online. So just you know, keep an eye out, because I think we're in for much more massive change as more and more people come online. So let's have a look at some of the other countries. These are all the countries with over 100 million internet users. And you can see here that you've got the USA, you know, because everybody thinks that the USA is where the dot-com boom started, and they're into that. But you can also see, which always surprises me every time I look at the new figures, is that countries that are coming through like Brazil, Nigeria, Indonesia, Japan, Russia. So, you know, you really need to think, if you're thinking about trading globally and doing export, where are your digital customers of the future actually going to be? It's a really big question, but we have some data here, as you can see. So just to show you again, then there are other countries with quite a high number of internet users. So you've got things like countries like Bangladesh, you've got Mexico, Philippines, and Pakistan. So like when I started doing these figures about 10 years ago, or reading these figures 10 years ago, it was like, you know, France, the UK, Germany. So literally every single year, everything is changing on there. So I know not all of these people out there will want your particular products or services, but some of them definitely will. So as I keep saying, we need to work out where our future markets for your particular products and your particular sector are actually going to be. So if we move on now to have a look at people speaking different languages, as I said, people want it in their local content. You can see here the two biggest ones are English and Mandarin Chinese. And it is definitely fast catching up English, but it hasn't quite made it yet. So, but if we carry on and, you know, we have a look here, a lot of the other world languages have a lot of users online. And so we can see there, you know, the people speaking Spanish, Arabic, Portuguese, and many other languages as well. So, you know, if we are selling to customers and really want to make the most of doing that, we should put them, you know, put it in all the different languages. And you can see Arabic there, 237 million online users speak Arabic. So that is already a lot of potential customers. And when you factor in English, if you're bilingual, then that is an amazing market for you to look at. So what we're seeing though is that the landscape is getting a lot more competitive. You've got all of those different countries, all of those different users and businesses coming online. And what we're seeing is that easily competitors from completely one side of the world can actually sell to your customers in your country locally online. I read a study the other day and it said that actually over a third of the sellers on Amazon.co.uk, where I'm based, are actually from China. And they're using, you know, using the Fulfilled by Amazon to actually get their products out to the customers. So they're competing, you know, basically in our own backyard. And this trend is surely appearing across the whole of the world. So we better get ready to take it all on. Could we have the second poll, please? Wonderful, thank you. So which channels do you use to sell online? And this is multiple choice, so you can click as many of them as you want. So I have my own website that's selling online, my own e-commerce website. I sell on an online marketplace. That might be like Amazon or Souk or something like that. I sell through a social store like Facebook Shop. Someone else sells online for me. Most of the above, or I don't sell online yet. If you could cast your votes, that would be amazing. Thank you. Let me know when we're nearing the full capacity of voting.
Okay, I think we can end the polling now.
Awesome.
sharing the results. Here you go.
Wow, this is great. Okay, so we've got 44% are e-commerce, so that's nearly half you. That's impressive. Using an online marketplace, we're going to talk about that in a sec, but that can be a great way to get to your customers. Social stores, yeah, online and using Facebooks, Instagrams, those type of things. Someone sells online for you, 4%, most of the above, 12%, and I don't sell online yet, 20%. Brilliant, thank you. No, this is really interesting. So I'm going to thank you for doing the poll. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to talk you through some of the approaches that you might want to think about selling online for those who haven't started, or for those who have started, about how you might want to expand your presence online as well. So we've got all this opportunity, we've got all these customers all around the world, but what do we do? Where do we start? This is always the question. And, you know, is what we've already done exactly the right thing? So there's a lot of hype, basically, and conflicting opinions about what is most important. You know, typically, if you're going to grow a business, particularly globally, you would attend an exhibition or a trade show in another country, or try and set up visits to distributors, like all around the world. But, you know, although all of these methods are still valid, what if we were to invest this money, or a large portion of it that's at our disposal, into digital instead? So, you know, people say to me, Sarah, what should I do? Should I build a website? Should I post on social media? Shall I list on a marketplace like Amazon? Should I write some blogs, advertise on Facebook? I get all of the questions. And, you know, for me, it's about, at the end of the day, we're in business, and which one will actually get us more online leads and more online sales. So the way that I look at it is actually that there is a distinction between digital sales and digital marketing, with a lot of airtime given to digital marketing. Now, having worked, like I said, with loads and loads of businesses in lots and lots of different sectors, I've seen time and time again that really what you should do is do two things and spend your budget in the following order. So the first one is that you need to get like a world-class digital sales platform in place to allow you to earn revenue. And then secondly, you need to implement successful digital marketing campaigns to drive visitors to those digital sales platforms. Now, it may sound simple, but really getting these digital sales platform up to scratch, as well as really investing in this digital marketing, it's like adding another digital sales executive to your team. And in this way, that your sales and marketing budget can literally go a really long way if you invest in digital to gain new international customers. So you might say, well, you know, what should I actually do? So we've identified 6 main digital sales channels as a distinct from digital marketing channels. We'll come on to those in a minute. And, you know, websites and e-commerce sites for selling online, we're all familiar with, and most of you are using those already. And a few of you are actually using e-marketplaces or online marketplaces, which are like the Amazons or the eBays or the Souks. And for the first time in 2019, sales through e-commerce online marketplaces overtook sales through individual e-commerce websites. So it's really interesting to know that that is where customers are going. And in some regions, that is the preference, for example, in China and some parts of Asia. Now, at the moment, there's only a small proportion of people that are buying through S-commerce or social stores. So this would be like your Facebook shops, not just posting on Facebook, but your actual Facebook shops, and also like Instagram shoppable posts. But this is actually predicted to grow now over 30% year on year. And Facebook, for example, have set out a whole new Facebook commerce with loads and loads of tools that are being rolled out across the world at the moment, so that this is easier to actually sell through your Facebook pages. C-commerce is chat commerce or conversational commerce. So this is like using WhatsApp or Messenger, or WeChat in China. And this is actually growing massively, like I said, in China, and it's one of the main ways of selling informally in a lot of developing countries as well, like some of the work that we're doing in Africa. Now, a few of you said, and I always put this one in, there was about 4% of you that said that you were actually selling through online partners online. Now, this is interesting. So this would be like getting your products into a store, you know, a retailer who has their own website and is doing well. This would be like getting into a supermarket who has an online presence. Now, this is actually one of the quickest ways to increase international sales if you pick wisely. Because if you find a partner in another country or a sales outlet in another country that are really established and doing well, and then you add your products to their portfolio, then you can get exposure without all the investment that you may need to do setting up your own e-commerce website in that country, for example. So now, today is just a brief masterclass and an introduction. I could do a whole day's masterclass on every single one of those circles that you see on there. But what's important for us to take away from today is that really the people who've been successful, we've seen that they actually have like a balanced portfolio through all of those different digital sales platforms there. And then you're not at the mercy of, say, Google changing its algorithm, or Amazon or one of the marketplaces, you know, deciding to not sell certain product lines and everything. So you have a lot more control over your digital strategy. However, it's absolutely clear that you would need different channels. Different ones of these digital sales channels will be important in different countries and for different products and services that you are selling as well. So, for example, you keep using this example because the landscape's very different there. But like in China, Tmall and WeChat dominate. Tmall is an online marketplace, and you wouldn't get far selling through your own like .com e-commerce website there, especially if it was still in English and say based in the USA. So you can see that you can pick basically and mix from these digital sales channels depending on what's best for your business. So if there's all of these different digital sales channels out there, it's really important once we've built them there to make sure that they are visible around the digital world. So I've already said it's like the digital world is so crowded and so noisy. It can be really difficult to do that and get the visibility, but it's so important. It's like the most important thing to be critical for your success. And actually, most businesses don't actually take any time and really bother to do anything about the visibility. They just think once their, you know, I don't know, marketplace listings are up, or they've built their website or put a few posts up on social media, that's the end of it. But actually, it's not like that anymore, and the sales won't just come rushing in. We have to continue to work at it. So where do we need to be visible? Well, these are the 3 main places that you need to get visible around the digital world. So you need to be visible on the search engines, if you're listing on marketplaces, on the marketplaces, and in social media. But it can be tricky. 90% of all website pages are never visited. That's a stat from a local SEO conference we have here in the city I'm in, Brighton. And also we know there's billions and billions of products listed on e-marketplaces. And on some marketplaces, over half of the sellers never sell a thing, like, for example, on Etsy. And on social media, we all know that there's like 2 billion users on Facebook and billions on Instagram and YouTube too. So how do we get that visibility, and where do we need to do it? So on Google, we all know Google, and in most countries, 95% of people do actually search on Google. So it is like the main search engine in the world. I know we all probably use it many times a day. But there are others that we need to be thinking about if we are exporters and we're going into markets like Baidu in China and Yandex in Russia. And then there's still this like what I call this Bing Yahoo thing going on in some countries, like in the USA, where a lot of people still use that. So in terms of marketplaces, again, you know, we're all aware of Amazon and eBay, but there's many local versions too. Got here, .fr, you know, and there's about 15 plus of them now. New ones coming up in the Netherlands, so they're rolling out globally themselves. And for eBay, it's the same with nearly 30 local language versions. And there are some what I call regional online marketplaces like Mercado Libre in South America, Flipkart in India, and Rakuten, which started in Japan. And you have like Souk among others in your region too. When we come through to the social media, it's not sort of quite so splintered, I guess is the right word there. But the top ones here that are used globally, which we all know and love. And then you have got some local ones in China and Russia. And you can see here, like Youku is the Chinese version of YouTube. So there's all of these places that we need to get there. So what does it all mean? It basically means that we need to stand out and we need to be visible. So these are some of the digital marketing channels that we've actually seen work with our clients. We went back through some of their Google Analytics to see what was actually driving online sales for those of you a bit more experienced. And you really do have to invest in digital marketing to succeed. And you have to pay these days. It's pay to play. Like in the year 2000 or even 2010, you didn't necessarily need to do this. There were other factors that could come to play. But you really need to get experience in a broad set of digital marketing techniques now. And you need to develop or hire in deep expertise to actually excel and to get ahead of the game. So these, again, are just an introduction to things that you may want to read a little bit more of my top 8 digital marketing techniques that actually work. So you've got social media, and by that I mean, you know, typing posts in on your Facebooks or TikTok or whatever you're using. So posting on those platforms as opposed to selling through the Facebook shops. Then there's paid social, so that would be running ads, say on Facebook. Paid search would be, have you ever seen like the Google ads at the top of the page in the search engine results? That's what I mean by that. Search engine optimization, that's SEO. For those of you who've got more advanced websites, then you will probably be doing that. And this is about getting the keywords that people are typing into Google matching to the content that's on your website and providing really good quality content anyway. E-newsletters, they could be actually sent out via an email, or more and more now we get a mobile broadcast list, for example, in WhatsApp. Use of influencers, I think you've probably heard of that, but we have some brands we work with do very, very well by getting somebody who is reputable within their sector to actually promote the products for them, usually for a fee. Then there are referrals. Now, this is usually where somebody just mentions you on social media or put a link through to your website or your social media pages. And that can often be for free. So those are nice ones to have. Or sometimes if you get like press coverage, you know, in, I don't know, your sector media, or even in the national or international press, that would be could be a potential referral to your website, and that can be very successful as well. It can also pull your, you know, your websites over as well and cause you to go out of stock if it's really successful, but hopefully you can manage that. And then there are affiliates as well. This is a slightly different one for some people, but this is basically where you use a little bit of software, and if you refer somebody to another, you know, social media platform or to a website, then you gain a commission if they buy. So this is quite popular, and it can work really, really well. There are lots of other things that we can do, like getting customer reviews, doing PR like public relations online, putting out press releases. So much events. There's so much we can do, but these are the ones that consistently can drive traffic. And again, like I said, it's about picking the ones that are right for your particular business. So let's move on and let's go to the next stage. So if these are all the different digital sales platforms that we could use and all these digital marketing channels, you know, how are we going to get started, and are you ready to get started? Now, we asked the questions at the beginning in the poll because when I was writing the book, I noticed that there is a journey that like every single company seems to go through when their quest for becoming international and are growing online. And these are them. So I will run through them quickly with you. So the first one is educate. Now, this is where if you're not online, you might be at that stage. Now you're just starting to get ideas and start to think about what you could possibly do and how it would help your business. And then the next stage is what we call procrastinate. Now, we have companies that we've been working with who enter into this stage, and then like 10 years later, they still don't do anything about improving and expanding their digital presence. And people do get stuck at this stage. They just put it off and put it to the bottom of their to-do list. But it really shouldn't be there, as I'm sure everybody that's on this session today knows. And the next one is deviate. So what we find is that once people do start going on to digital, that they'll just hire somebody they know down the road, or somebody's sister or somebody's brother, and somebody who will help them, say, set up a website or set up their social media business pages. But it'll be okay, but the graphics aren't great. It's not what we call world class, where it's looking like as brilliant as it can actually be. So that's the stage that people tend to go there. And sometimes this is okay, because if you're starting off on a small budget, sometimes it's better just to start than to go for perfection and then do nothing and never launch anything online at all. So it's okay, but it's often a stage that you go through, so you can identify whether you're in that stage there. Then the next one is where people start getting serious. This is what I call my orientate stage. So at orientate, people are starting to say, right, actually, I'm going to go and I'm going to pick one or two of the right digital sales platforms and a couple of digital marketing platforms. And I'm going to go with reputable suppliers. I don't know, like a online shopping with like Shopify or something like WordPress for an SME. And and start to take it seriously and start to put some budget aside to actually build their digital sales platforms, and then get somebody to help them with the digital marketing. The next stage is dedicate. So dedicate is where people say, right, actually, this is going to be a key part, basically, of our business. Digital is core to who we are, what we're doing, and how we're going to reach our customers. And usually at this stage, about 50% of revenue is coming in from online sources. And you'd probably have somebody that was an e-commerce manager or somebody in that role to actually drive this forward, because it's now important to your business. Now, you might notice that, like, up until this stage, I've not talked about anything to do with international. Because basically up until here, it's about getting the foundations and the building blocks in place for your digital presence and building the skills within your business. Then when you're feeling quite confident, you can then move, and what I say is duplicate into your first country. So you need to choose from all those countries I was talking about earlier to think, where's there actually going to be the demand for my products or services? Because you don't just want to go a knee-jerk reaction and just go into any country just because you know someone there or because a competitor's gone there. So you need to do some research and work out where you actually want to go. And then the next one is replicate, because once we've duplicated everything into our first country, it actually becomes a bit of a process. Yeah, we can actually, it's like a business process for internationalization. So we can start to say, right, okay, we know how to do this. We know that we need to think about, the language. We need to think about the delivery, exactly. All of these things. There's a great long list of things that we need to consider. And you get quite good at it. So then we have customers who actually start to roll out to a new country. You could say every 6 months or every 3 months if you've got a big enough team to be able to do it. And this is where you start to really, really get the benefit from the digital when you start to take it international. And then at the peak of the pyramid is what we call proliferate. And, what this means is that at this stage that you're probably operating across multiple countries, you're probably operating across multiple digital sales channels, like on marketplaces with e-commerce, and probably doing, 2 or 3, if not more, if not all of those digital marketing things. So this is like, getting right to the top of where you should be, sort of at the top of your game. So I won't embarrass you by asking you to put your hands up and tell me where you are, but if you can put into the chat which stage you think you're actually at, then that would be useful. We'll have a look at the end when we come into the questions and answers and see where you are. So if you could just write one of those down: educate, procrastinate, deviate, orientate, dedicate, replicate, or proliferate, and we'll see where you think you are. Right, so let's go on. So one thing that we found mostly is that you have to be, I mentioned it just a second ago, world-class before you grow globally. Now, by world-class, I mean that, you've got a great story about your business, that, the founders, have said what they're passionate about and why they've started the business, that, we've talked on this accelerator that, we'd love to work with people who've got organic, sustainable, what's driving that. And then on top of that, you need really great images and probably even videos these days. You need to also have content that you can write about, say on a weekly or monthly basis, to put content on social media. And you need to have like the operations behind this so that you do it consistently. Then, when you've got that all ready, you can start to think about growing globally. So, all of this I've been telling you, and it's like, wow, that's a lot to do. But you think of how you could benefit at the end of the day of this. So I said that, when we start getting going on this globalization, I said grow fast, grow global. But, when you start getting through to this point, it could really start to have a difference on your business. So, for example, if at the moment, say you're only operating, say, a website, say in Arabic, or even you may have it in Arabic and English, but if you were to replicate your business and say put it across 5 digital sales channels, so if you've got, some of you said you've got e-commerce websites, and you make sure that you're getting a Facebook shop as well, and that you have it on a marketplace, so you start to build up those digital sales channels. And if you then put it into, say, 5 world languages, and we know that there's about 200 countries in the world. You may not go to all of those different countries, but, just bear with me. But what that gives us is 5,000 other combinations of ways that you could gain customers. And this is the power of, taking your business globally, using all of those different digital sales channels as you go. So in this way, by doing this replication, this is how we say that you can be unstoppable, and that you can get to this point that literally you can just keep rolling out across the world and getting more and more customers and growing your business as you go. So let's go on there. So we say this, that you can be unstoppable, but how fast do you actually want to grow globally? Now, I've talked you through the typical journey that a business takes to get to this international digital success. And you need to plot your own steps to transform your company and achieve this international growth and this is unstoppable growth. But it's a bit like, starting to keep fit or going on a diet or learning a language. Yeah, it's completely in line with the effort that you put in. So I always say that you can get to be unstoppable, but it depends how fast you want to grow globally. So I've coined these phrases, and the first one is like playing it safe. What a lot of people do is they just tinker around the edges with their digital presence, so they'll get some return, but not that much, and probably in this day and age won't even keep up. The next one is grow at pace. So this means that you start taking consistent action, and you start formalizing everything in a way that I've explained today, and you'll start to see some results. But again, it may not be enough to keep up. So do you want to get into the mindset where you're actually winning the race, like, so you're going to become best in class globally? And if this is your end goal, then you're going to really make big strides. But you also need to make potentially big changes and big investments, not necessarily just in money, but in your time for sure. Nothing comes easy these days, right? So as we're coming through to the last stages of the presentation, I just wanted to run you through some of the biggest pitfalls that we've seen working with customers all around the world and entrepreneurs all around the world. And, you know, they fail to get, as I said at the beginning, they fail to get the benefits that they deserve and get like almost like derailed before they've even got started. And all of these are completely avoidable, like completely avoidable. So what is the first one? Well, the first one is poor tech. So this means that you've set out on the wrong digital sales platforms and you just can't keep up with your time, and then you start struggling because you're not equipped with the best tools. The back office is the next one. It's not the most exciting part of the business, but if you don't have smooth operations and logistics, you'll end up under strain and you'll end up firefighting and eventually letting your customers down, and it can limit your speed of growth. So the third one here is what I call lazy localizing. So basically it's, you know, you have to accept that people speak different languages around the world, or even have different cultures and different customs. And, you know, people might be happy to use Google Translate to navigate their way through, but in a way, it would be great to actually make a bit more effort and to cater basically for all of the customers of the future that you're going to have all around the world, and customize your digital presence as much as you possibly can. And then the final pitfall that people tend to fall into, and I've alluded to it before, is that they think that everything's going to start taking off without doing anything. So basically they launch and then they're just expecting this great amount of money to come into their websites, which doesn't happen. And, you know, it's a bit like, you know, if you don't carry on promoting it, it's a bit like having a shop and then putting no sales assistants in them and hiding all your products away, like on a back shelf or something like that. So enough of the pitfalls and on to the success factors. If you're ready to get it right, then these are some of the things that you need to do. So first of all, have an open mindset and be open to changing your business models. Like the coronavirus and the impact that it's had on the last year on business has been absolutely massive. And a lot of people, I'm sure, have pivoted or thinking they're going to have to pivot their business to a new model. So do keep an open mind, and that your best customers may actually be in a country that you haven't even thought of. Now, think carefully and strategically as well. You know, don't just add on digital as an afterthought. That's what a lot of people do. And don't just react if you get a lead from another country. Actually have a plan to deal with it. And, you know, make sure that everything that you do is in line with the goals and also the values of your business. And be prepared to invest. This is one of the biggest things that, you know, I've been saying. It doesn't come for free anymore. It is pay to play. And, you know, basically, you know, think about it in terms of investing. So you say, if I was to invest, say, the equivalent of $5,000, but over a year or two, if I got, you know, $50,000 back, well, that wouldn't be a bad investment, would it? So try and think of it that way rather than, you know, just basically not investing any money in the digital side of your business. Now, another one as well, which is interesting for going international and certainly on digital too, is like what I call pick the winners. So what this means is take a really honest look at your product and service range and see, are they all suitable for international customers? Have you heard of what's called, it's the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule? Like 80% of your revenue comes from 20% of your products. So start thinking about that when you go international as well. And get the right team around you. You're going to need a blend of skills to make this happen. And we need specialists, not generalists this day. So it may be that you hire in or get somebody that you know to train you up. So, for example, somebody who's an expert at, say, building a Shopify e-commerce site may not be the same person that's an expert in Google Ads who's going to run a campaign. And also, and this is such a big one, and it's so great that we're here talking about the LevelUP Accelerator today, because it's full of experts who are going to be able to help with you in all areas of your business growth. And, you know, it's really important to ask for help all the time, every day. Because that way you're going to do things right and move faster. Can we have the last poll, please? Brilliant. So this is just a short one to end with. So are you ready for the digital future? Yes, bring it on. Or no, I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed, or I'm not sure yet. You could just answer those. That would be great. Let me know when everybody's voted.
Okay, I think most of us have answered.
Perfect. Let's have a look at the results. Bring it on. Oh, I love you all. Look at that. Bring it on. You're very, very positive there. 79% have said, let's go for it. Yeah, it is overwhelming. For those of you, 4% have said that it's yeah, overwhelming. It is. It's hard to get started, but by joining an accelerator such as this one, you're going to have your hand held all the way through, and yeah, taking all the steps that you need to in a logical way. So that would be good. And 17% not sure. Perfect. Well, thank you very much for doing that poll. And I'll just come in now and say about, when we're talking there about the digital future, I don't want to overwhelm those of you that are already overwhelmed, but you know, there is a lot that you need to do to transform your business. You can't basically rest on your laurels. There just isn't time anymore. And you know, you have to be competitive in today's international and digital world. So you may feel that you're already behind the times and need to play catch up, but the flip side is that there's an amazing and exciting amount of potential growth out there waiting in all corners of the world. So if you haven't got to grips with what's already going on, do take the step from today, make a commitment today to actually do that. And then you can start to capitalize on all the changes that are coming our way, which will make our businesses more efficient and help us to reach more customers there. So just very quickly, there are a number of more changes basically they're going to come and influence the digital world. So the first one is the population is now going to grow from about 7.5 billion to 9.7 billion by 2050, and 5 billion of those are going to be in Asia and 2.5 billion in Africa. So your customers, as I've been saying, of the future, even past this decade, are going to be in very different places. Also, there'll be more and more users coming on. I mean, there are projects all over the world to get absolutely everybody or as many people as possible online. And there's some really sort of like quite tech focused projects, you know, like Elon Musk's SpaceX. They're putting satellites up all around the world, and the OneWeb as well. They're putting satellites up to be able to give broadband to as many people. So, you know, some conservative estimates are there's 5 billion people going to be online, but others say that everyone is going to be online by 2025. So that one's still to be seen, I think. But a lot of these projects are already commercializing as well. And then there's going to be loads more. You know, that diagram I had of 6 digital sales channels. Well, you know, there's already a new one coming out, which is V-commerce, voice commerce. So that's using the little voice assistants like, you know, the little Alexa. And this could have a big impact on, you know, how we interact with customers on there. And then the last one to look out for the future is the technology. It's even more sophisticated, like artificial intelligence, automation, blockchain, and certainly translation technology. So I really need to like get a crystal ball out and think about what's going to, you know, happen for the rest of the 2020s. But it's being expected almost to be the biggest leap forward in technology that we've ever seen. So I'm quite excited to see what's coming on there. So when you're thinking about digital, don't think of it as an add-on, and think of it as an investment in your future and not a cost basically to your business. And go ahead and be unstoppable. We'll be watching you. We'll find out and follow you on social media. So back to you, Hazem, and if there are any questions that we want to do there.
Yes, thank you, Sarah. We already have 2 questions.
Okay, cool.
The first one, how can I start if I don't have any budget?
Yeah, exactly. So I said, you know, when I was talking about my pyramid going up, that it was better to invest in proper platforms. But, you know, I understand that when you're starting out, especially, you know, you were saying in the introduction that there are 2 groups of people, right? There's those people that are startups, and then there's people that are more established small and medium companies who are looking to grow. So I think if you're starting out, then you can definitely start out on, you know, Facebook, perhaps setting up a Facebook business page. That's completely free of charge. And I think, again, it comes back to the like I was sort of saying, you know, when you're dieting or learning a language or getting fit, you know, it's about getting consistent and getting into a routine. So perhaps you can say to yourself, right, I know you're all busy running your families and running your businesses, but like if you could say, right, I'm going to spend, you know, 1 hour twice a week and I'm going to write some content and put some posts out, you can start to get some traction there. And also, what, you know, I would still say is, you know, ask all your friends, families, colleagues, you know, people like us on the, you know, on the teams that you're working with, then just ask everybody to follow you and to get out from there. There are some free websites that you can set up. I know Microsoft, you can do that. And also there's something called wordpress.com that is very reasonably priced if you wanted to go that way. And yeah, marketplaces, it depends on the volume you're selling. It's a little bit more tricky to get started sometimes on them and the requirements that you need, but that would probably be the next one to have a look at. And don't forget WhatsApp. WhatsApp is a great way of you know, communicating with your customers as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Wow, WhatsApp, that's a new idea for all of us. So another question is, I want to start to sell internationally, but where do I start?
Yeah, so I work mainly with companies, in fact, exclusively really with companies who are trying to go international. And, you know, you can start, or you can get lucky. You know, there's the 2 ways, you know, sometimes to get an international market, because by definition, anything digital is global, right? Because anywhere could actually come in and see your content and decide to get in contact with you or buy from you. But really, if you're going to go, you know, fully international, you should take it a little bit seriously. I would always say, you know, it's like perhaps do your research, like I was saying at the beginning, and find out which countries are the best ones for you to go to. And that takes some time. You can do lots of free research, but you know, but that takes time. And then, especially if you're selling products, then you need to get all the logistics. You need to think about the customs. You know, there's a lot of, depending on what you're selling, particularly in some of the sectors you may be targeting. You know, if there's anything, you know, pharmaceuticals or healthcare, then you may need to get compliance. So it can be quite difficult. But I would always start by thinking about which country you're going to have the most demand for your products. Mm-hmm. Having said that, for services, it can be a lot easier. Yeah, it's a lot easier. Because, you know, you can deliver like we're doing now, you know, like training online or consultations online. So if you're an advisor or, you know, a trainer or a coach or something like that, you can set up online and offer consultations globally straight away. But yeah, it definitely takes, you know, a bit more effort to think out a proper globalization strategy. And I know you've got another session on that this afternoon.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. I see a question coming in the chat box. If Hazem can help me read it out loud.
Yes. Is it okay that I don't know yet on what stage I'm on?
Yes, of course it's okay. Yes, of course it's okay. Yeah, these are just ways that we've, you know, that we've sort of like put people on there. But and it's quite interesting actually, because sometimes I go in and I look at somebody's website or, you know, their presence on social media, and I'm like, wow, that looks amazing. And then they're like, yeah, but it's only the front, you know, behind we're really struggling. Our systems are falling over. We haven't got, you know, we're still running things on spreadsheets or, you know, rather than accounting systems. So sometimes, you know, what you see is different to how it actually is. So no, that's absolutely fine. That's absolutely fine.
Yeah, thank you so much. Now I think we have 3 more minutes.
Dua, we have one more question if you want
Yeah.
to ask.
Yeah, may you ask, please, Hazem?
I tried to expand internationally. However, the shipping price are too high compared to other countries, higher than the item itself. How
Yeah.
do I come over this issue?
Right. Yeah, this happens. I mean, it happens in any country, you know, especially when you're going further distances as well. Yeah, and the shipping prices this year, after you know, with the coronavirus and all the issues that we've had, have gone up a lot. So the first thing I would say is, you know, don't just sell internationally because you think it's a cool thing to do. Actually, get a spreadsheet out and work out all of these different costs. I know it's a bit boring to do, but you know, you don't want to be trading at a loss. That just makes no sense at all, unless you're in a, you know, fortunate position that you know you want to gain market share. But like generally for most of you, I would say get a spreadsheet out, put all of those costs, you know, think about warehousing, you know, how much it's going to cost if you're sending it, say, DHL. And if it doesn't work out, then you know, don't do it. Do you remember I said in the talk there, I was saying, you know, the 80-20 rule. It may be that you only sell 20% of your products internationally and not, you know, all of them. The second thing to do is think about the B2B, business to business side of your business. Can you do that rather than selling direct to consumers and, you know, I don't know, sending a pen, but it costs $10 to send the pen or something like that? Could you send, you know, 2,000 pens to a distributor, say in London, or an importer in London, who will then, you know, send them, you know, sell them to individual customers there. So think about the B2B side, because if you're shipping in bulk, either by air or even by ship, it takes longer, but it's cheaper, you know, then you may still be able to make it work financially. So perhaps even put those two scenarios in your spreadsheet and work out which one's going to be best for you. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Sarah. You shared with us great insight. هلا حنرجع. Sorry?
I said you're very welcome.
هلا حنرجع للغة العربية. شكرا سارة، مثل ما قلنا على الحصة التدريبية. صراحة الأفكار اللي انطرحت جدا مهمة وأنا شخصيا استفدت منهم.
بالفعل دعاء، شكرا سارة. والآن رح